So let's do business again, and it's going to be 55 minutes around the world of business, discussing economy and everything that connects to that. That's what we do on Business Incorporated. For this episode, here's what we have prepared for you. It's a big deal for Nigeria as they collaborate with Boeing, and a lot of sides to this collaboration. We'll tell you about it on the program. We're building skills into the very young ones. We don't want for them to get older. We'll discuss that on the program. More electricity for Ethiopia after the controversial dam has now, part of it has now been completed. You're welcome to the program. I'm Ini John Mekwa. We do business starting from the global space. Now, oil prices held mostly steady on Thursday as a smaller than expected draw in United States crude inventories and continued worries over China demand countered supply disruption, mostly in Libya at this time. Look at the numbers. Just a little change is what we have. 0.01% down for Brent, $78.64 a barrel. WTI is on the flip side, but a marginal move is what we see. $74.60 for a barrel. And yes, both contracts lost over 1% on Wednesday after that data showed that U.S. crude inventories dropped by 846,000 barrels to 425.2 million barrels, more than what was expected, but losses were limited because of worries over disruption in Libya, a member of OPEC, Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. Now, a number of fields, oil fields in Libya have already been shut down. Production has stopped, and that's because of a fight over the control of the country's central bank, with one firm saying that losses could be about between 900 million and 1 million, 900,000 and 1 million barrels per day. And this could last for several weeks. Now, a point of note here in Libya is that Libya has suspended the head of the state fuel distribution company after a severe shortage this week of petrol. That's like what we are facing in Nigeria with all of the queues at the filling station. But this has caused the sack of the head of state fuel distribution company. I'll wait to see such in Nigeria. Prime Minister Abdul Hamid prohibited Brega Oil marketing chairman from working while an investigation is underway as to why there was shortage of supply in that country. We're still in the global space now, but we're discussing gold metals generally. The prices rose on Thursday on expectations that the Federal Reserve might begin that interest rate cut, which we have been waiting for. Next week is September, so it's getting closer and underpinned by ongoing tensions in the Middle East, while a slew of U.S. data remained on investors' data. Let's take a look at the numbers right there. Spot gold went up 0.6%, recovered from, slightly recovering from what we had at this time yesterday, $2,516.63 per ounce. That's for spot gold. U.S. gold features $2,550 after it gained 0.5%. Now, the initial job loss claims and GDP data is due, and then personal consumption expenditures, those are also due, and due tomorrow, Friday. And so that, of course, will give more attention, or we'll see more reactions to that. Now, looking at other metals, spot silver we see is up 1.33%, $29.59. Platinum also up almost 1%. So look at right there, 0.91%. $945.80. Palladium more than 1%, 1.17% at $949.50. The Middle East, the fighting going on there in the Gaza Strip is also feeding into price movement right here. Now let's come to Nigeria. Now, the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Mr. Festus Keyamo, is, as we speak, in the United States. He signed a strategic memorandum of understanding with Boeing, which is one of the world's leading aircraft manufacturers. The signing ceremony happened in Seattle, Washington, in the United States, in the presence of key Nigerian aviation stakeholders, including executives from major Nigerian airlines, top management of Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, representatives of the airline operators in Nigeria. Well, Boeing was represented by by the minister, their own minister, their vice president, beg your pardon, vice president of commercial sales and marketing for Africa. And this collaboration promises to deliver enhanced operational efficiency and safety of Nigerian airlines while positioning them for growth in the global aviation market. The key highlights of the MOU, the areas that this should take care of, include facilitation of aircraft acquisition, training and development, maintenance and engineering support, regulatory support, and a whole other parts of the aviation sector. And of course, in the coming days, we do look forward to that sipping into services in the aviation sector in Nigeria. Still in Nigeria, there are businesses that are still striving in spite of the current economic headwinds in the country, and these are the sectors that are still attracting funding. The managing director of UC Microfinance Bank, who was a guest on Business Morning, shares some of those areas you may be interested in.
You know, for microfinance banks today, the major challenge would be the cost of funds too, because they either fund, MSMEs, either via borrowed funds too, or customers, liability, shareholders' funds and all that. And we also know that they pay price for those funds. And unfortunately, they would not have any choice than to pass the cost even to the customer. And so for microfinance banks at this time, I'd like to say, specifically for us in UC Microfinance Bank, what we have decided to do is just to, have a robust risk management framework that would also help us mitigate against the risk that comes with non-performing loans, for example, because at this time you'd also realize that the rate at which the rate of non-performing loans has also gone high. Customers, that's the MSMEs, are also finding it a bit challenging to pay back their loans. Part of also, the strategies that I think that I also know that we have also put in place, and I know that most microfinance are also financial advisory even for this MSME. So you're here telling the MSME what businesses in the economy or what sector of the economy should they focus on. Today, you're looking at, a lot of people today would rather fund consumer goods than, lifestyle today. So you're looking at an MSME who is focused on lifestyle, and you're saying, why don't you channel more of this funding into this part of the business? And that's part of the financial advisory that I think microfinance banks, people like us, have also deployed.
Now, Nigeria loses about 1.5 billion naira monthly to pineapple importation. That's because of lack of government support. That's according to an agriculture expert, Mr. Oluwaseun Alabi. Mr. Alabi further says that the federal government must cultivate a supportive environment that encourages business expansion and strengthens the private sector within Nigeria's agricultural industry. He was speaking during a briefing with journalists in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja.
From our calculation, the pineapple that enters Nigeria per day is more than 50 million naira that we import every day. So you can do that calculation in 30 days and know how much we are losing. I just made mention that we have at least like 3 countries have reached out to us to export pineapple fruit to them. But we cannot. That is a loss. Because when you have ability to do something and you are not doing it, you are losing. So if Nigeria can come up and we are able to achieve this mind-blowing goal, it's going to be a plus to Nigeria, because we are going to be generating forex. There's a lot of things that you can achieve from pineapple. And let me educate us. The back of pineapple, the cloth you are wearing, you can make cloth from the back of pineapple. You can produce fuel from pineapple that can power your cars. And we have all of these things in pipeline. That if this vision is being achieved, it's going to take Nigeria far in the global marketplace.
Still talking non-oil exports potentials in the country, the Nigerian Export Promotion Council says that a sum of $2.7 billion was generated from non-oil exports in the first half of this year. The Executive Director and Chief Executive of NEPC, Ms. Noye Ayeni, made this known with journalists in Abuja at the presentation of the progress report of the sector's performance for the period. She explained that total amount indicates 6.26% increase, while compared to $2.5 billion recorded in the same period of last year, while the total volume of exports during the review period stood at 3.834 million metric tons. And further mentions that 211 products were exported in the first half of the year, ranging from agricultural commodities to extractive industries, indicating that Nigerian products were gradually diversifying from traditional raw agriculture exports to semi-produced manufactured products.
Ladies and gentlemen here present, a total of 211 products were exported in the first half of 2024, ranging from agricultural commodities to extractive commodities and solid minerals. This shows that Nigerian products are gradually diversifying from traditional raw agricultural exports to semi-processed and manufactured products. A breakdown of the results shows the following. Based on the information received from pre-shipment inspection agents, PIS, of the top 15 products exported in the period in review, cocoa beans was the most exported commodity with about 23.18% in percentage value, followed by urea and fertilizer, which was about 13.78%, and sesame seed with about 11.04% of the total exported non-oil products in the country.
So talking about how to build more on that non-oil exports, we certainly need skills, and we'll be talking about entrepreneurial skills, in Nigerians. Now let's look at the children. Perhaps if we catch them young, it might be easier. So talking about inculcating skills into the curriculum of children. Let's discuss that now with two individuals right here in the studio. We have Mags Barn. She is the Group CEO of eStars, joining us. And you're not a Nigerian. I'm going to ask you why you're interested in Nigeria, but I just wanted to give you a heads up so you'll be ready for it. And then there's Joe Popola. He's obviously a Nigerian, but he's the African lead of eStars. Thank you so much for coming into the studio this afternoon. So I'll start with Mags, obviously. Yeah. You came into Nigeria for this purpose, empowering the young ones. Tell me why you think this is necessary and why Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you very much for welcoming us here today. I'm delighted to be in Nigeria. I am the CEO of eStars, which is an educational esports company which was formed in the UK. We have entities around the world, and we really wanted to enter the African continent. And with the help of my great colleague Joel, he encouraged us that Nigeria was a perfect place to launch eStars in Africa, in terms of what the country wants to achieve, in terms of the size of the population, and really the desire to bring something new to the population.
It may be too early, but I hope you're not coming to take our talents away. So, it's no longer news that Africa, the continent, has the youngest population at this time. When it comes to vibrancy and talent, you have them in Nigeria. And obviously, it's a good one to catch them young. But how do you want to do this? Are you going into schools? The curriculum is being set by the government. Are you coming through that? Or how exactly do you think this is going to work?
So it's an esports educational platform. It's called the eSports Club, eStars eSports Club. And on the platform, we have used the power of gaming as a new form of education. So use the power of when the students are playing games, they learn key skills such as leadership, time management, empowerment, lots of these different skills. And we're working with all of the different school groups. We launched last month at the British High Commissioner's residence. And now when the schools are back in coming weeks, we're really looking forward to introducing our product, introducing our platform to all of the schools.
Let me go to Mr. Popola now. What areas are you looking at? So we know that when you talk about the elites in Nigeria, a lot of those students are already, they're exposed to some of these things. But we know that the people who really need this and those in the lower cadre of income, and we know the areas where they are. So could you tell us how you want to reach those people who really need this? So it doesn't end in Ikoyi and Lekki.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ini. Thanks for having us in the studio this afternoon. It's of interest to all Nigerians that we have this launched, not in Southern Africa as it was planned by Max, because I wear two hats. I'm the chair for the UK Institute of Directors Africa Group, where we facilitate British businesses into the continent of Africa.
I'll take you up on another day.
Okay, no problems. And then also lead EASTAs in Africa. So we are looking at both the public schools and also the private schools, and we are working closely with the stakeholders, the enablers.
Who are the stakeholders in this case?
The stakeholder is almost everybody, or the government. We have the NGOs, the British Deputy High Commission and the British High Commissions. We are looking at the brands, top brands. We have meetings with Lavage, we have meetings with Dangote, we have meetings with Nestle, banks. We have signed MOU with banks. So we are looking at people that can really enable these children. MTN, we have had meeting with MTN. We have reached out to Glo to make sure that we are able to get this across to everybody. What saddened me most in Nigeria educational system is the number of out-of-school children, which I know is very significant. Nigeria has the highest number of out-of-school children in the world. We want to see how we can win these children, some of them back into education, while they are playing games that they love to play. If you give your phone to a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old, you'll be amazed the way they navigate to start playing game. But while they're playing game, they can learn certain skills. Unconsciously, they can learn creativity, they can learn problem solving, they can learn decision making, teamwork, because we set tasks into the game for them. So for example, we can have on Minecraft, which they love to play, you can construct a 64 by 64 hospital. That is the instruction, and within that, they need to have numeracy to know the number of blocks that they need to use to construct the hospital. They need to have creativity to know whether the hospital needs to have accident and emergency. So all these things are...
Where do you meet these children?
We meet them in what they love most.
No, I mean the location.
Okay.
Geographical location.
We have partnered with schools. Schools,
okay.
Yeah. So we're partnered with
schools of what level?
It's open to everybody. We are talking at the moment to Superb in Lagos State, which is public school. We have schools from Ibadan to Ilorin. Since we launched in July this year, so we are hoping to get almost everybody involved at all levels, age 7 to age 16.
Okay, 7 to 16, that's the target.
Yeah, that is the target age for them. And because this is also done in conjunction with school, then the school has absolute control on the time they spend on the screen. The school has absolute control on the time they spend to do their task. So it is really in the hands of the school, so that we are not teaching them to game, we are teaching them to learn.
So Max, tell me, how do you measure success, your targets? You understand? You're working in conjunction with the school. Do you go back to the school for feedback? Do you test the children to know? How do you measure impact?
Yeah, we had a pilot program back at the start of this year with Queensland schools, and it was so successful. And for me, the fact that all of the children were engaged, they all love the platform. They also give us very good feedback in the platform, and that was what propelled us. That was when I knew this is going to be a success, because our key clients are the students and what they're learning from it and what they're engaged in it. We also speak as well with the student parent groups and associations to get the parent feedback as well, and the feedback has just been amazing. So I'm really confident the more schools that get involved, the more students that become engaged in it, they're learning key skills through a new way of educating them, thinking towards the future.
So are you done with, you said it's 7 to 18 years?
7 to 16 years.
7 to 16 years, yeah. And then you do what? And then you leave them to somebody. I'm talking of sustainability now.
There is a pathway in this for the age 7 to 12, 13, 14. It's purely for them to get engaged on our platform. where they have certain certifications for activities that they are doing on the platform. But because also on the other side of education in Nigeria is the number of students who have passed through the secondary school, but they couldn't gain admission to higher institutions. And that is in hundreds of thousands. We are trying to introduce the BTech, which is another pathway now, which is absolutely fantastic in many countries around the world. Students can go through A-levels to the university, through JAMB to the university, but through the BTech education also, they should be able to get their desired courses done, not necessarily through the JAMB. So if they have another pathway through the BTech, we are partnering with Pearson Education. We are the only.
So that means, I mean, for you to talk about certificates and for the certificate to be recognized, you're working with the government.
Yeah. We are working with the government. We are working at
not just. I mean, I know you mentioned
at the state level. Okay. We are working at the national level, at the federal level, and these are the people that I refer to as the enablers. We need to work closely with all these stakeholders to ensure that there are other pathways for students. In UK, for example, we have apprenticeship, which students who want to do engineering will not want to go to the university. They want to go to Jaguar or to Nissan as an apprentice, and then they will be sponsored by this company in the university, and they will still have their qualifications. Accountants, most of them in the UK go through PwC or through Deloitte as an apprentice, and they become a chartered accountant.
You know, Mr. Kukola, that makes me remember that when we think of, we have the, I think it's the apprenticeship, the Igbo.
Yeah, the Igbo. This
is just giving it a structure.
Which is a case study even in Oxford.
Which we are discarding, unfortunately.
Yeah, in Harvard. I know there was a case study on Igbo apprenticeship in Harvard Business School, which I also have done also in Oxford. So it is huge opportunity for Nigeria to be flexible with education, not rigid to the conventional way of education, but let's explore other alternatives that we have to ensure that we get these children to have the skills of the century. We built the first classroom of the future in Riyadh, which was launched by Cambridge University last year in November. And what we are saying about the concept of the classroom of the future is that you can't teach the skill of the future in the classroom of the past. And Riyadh was the first country in the world to have a physical classroom called the Classroom of the Future through the MISC Foundation's Riyadh schools.
So, Max, I don't know how long or how much you know about Nigeria, but the issue of power, infrastructure, internet penetration, these are realities here. I don't know if you've met with any of those challenges, if there's a plan to overcome them for sustainability of your program in the country.
Yeah, I think as Joel mentioned, we are speaking with the telecoms companies that control broadband, that control all the internet issues and things like that, to work with it, because we want to make this as accessible as we can to everyone. As Joel mentioned, all of our after-school club, our level 1, which is a certificate, our level 2, level 3 certificates, formal qualifications in esports, our BTech in esports, the business of esports. And that's really important. But we've totally taken that on board, and we're speaking to the relevant stakeholders to make sure this is a huge success.
All right, so I mean, success for you at this point is success for Nigeria's future. Yeah. So we certainly pray for success with you. Max Vine is Group CEO of eStars, and then Mr. Joel Popola, Africa Lead of eStars. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. All
right, let's take a break now. When we come back from that break, we'll head to the market with Aniti Edit. Stay with us. You're welcome back to watching Business Incorporated right here on Channels Television. We'll head to the markets now with Aniti Edit. Aniti, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon, Nini. Okay, so yes, yesterday you reported the market being in the red, and that is the first time for the week. And of course, that loss of about 176 billion naira, it knocked off almost about half of the gain that we had in the last 2 trading sessions. But take a look at your board there. The market is still, and last time I checked, still sustaining that green sentiment. Okay, so now, Nigeria stock market, it's still struggling to hold this 96,000 points index level, which of course it has been dropping at some point almost dropping below this 96,000 points, but still struggling. Like I mentioned, the likes of MTN Nigeria, Accessco, FBN Holdings, Lafarge, and actually there were about 18 losers, which counted the losses from 35 gainers. So they pulled the market back in the red territory as a close of mid-week trading session. But at intraday, some of the financials as well as some oil and gas majors are making the market to be in the green territory for at the intraday trading session. For the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, the all-share index there, 0.32% at intraday, 84,000 and still climbing, because the last time we saw it, the market was at about 83,000 points. Now it has gotten into the 84,000 points and still climbing higher at intraday trading session. On the other sides of the African continent markets, we see Egypt's EGX 30, 0.20% at intraday at 30,000 and still trying to get into the 31,000 level. We see a lot of bargain hunting on that Egyptian stock exchanges trading session at intraday. While for the Nairobi Stock Exchange, the all-share index there for the close of Wednesday's trading session, 0.76% down at 103.42. That's the lowest when you track other index numbers on the African continent. Now, let's talk about the fixed income market. Of course, the month of August is gradually winding down. Tomorrow will be the last trading week of August. But so far, let's have a review of the month of August, where we see lots of activities starting from the retail Dutch auction, the Treasury bills auctions, the OMO auctions, the FGM savings bonds, as well as the FGM bond auction, and the much talked about domestic dollar bond, which all of this, we want to know how that has impacted investor sentiment in the fixed income market across all the instruments. Now, for more details about all of this that I just mentioned, let's bring in Caleb Alimi, the chief dealer at Providence Bank, to give us more insight into this. Thank you for joining us, Caleb.
Thank you for having me. Good morning. Okay. Oh, good afternoon, sorry.
Yes, good afternoon. Nigerian time here. Okay, so Caleb, now, I want you to tell me, so far we've had so much of activity within the month of August, where I wouldn't call it the August visitor. Maybe you might call it the August visitor. That's the domestic dollar bond. But so far, how has all the activities been so far for investors within within the fixed income market?
You know, typically, August is a very quiet month globally for traders and for dealers. However, in Nigeria, this has been one of the most exciting August we've had. It's been one of the busiest, in terms of the local market. We had the introduction of the local dollar bond, 500 million, which the government launched some days ago. It's closing officially tomorrow, and then funding will be sometime next week, September 6th precisely. You know, that announcement, in addition to further supply of bonds in the local market, has been well received. Marketers, general investors are looking forward to what will happen when they announce how much they've raised for that bond. Generally, we think we're going to see an oversubscription of more than 500 million, and I expect that the government will actually take more than that $500 million that they're looking to raise. The coupon rate is very exciting for investors. You earn 9.75% on your dollar holdings. Most banks won't pay you that, and most instruments outside Nigeria also won't pay you that. So we're seeing a lot of interest from Nigerians in diaspora. We're seeing a lot of interest from asset managers, portfolio managers in Nigeria, all looking to partake in that, 5-year local dollar bond. So it's been a positive one. Also in the local bonds market, we've also seen the DMO, sell about 320 billion naira worth of bonds this month in August, even though they offered something, way less than that. They adjusted their circular to offer 190 billion, but then they did kind of see an opportunity in the market due to the liquidity in the market and due to the, volume of bids, and they raised, over 300 billion for bonds in the, the month of August. Then we've also had 2 treasury bill auctions this month. We've seen interest rates, or stop rates drop from, the first auction on the month where the 1-year paper closed at 21.89%. You can call it 21.9%. And then the second auction, which was just about last week, closed at 20.9%, which is a 100 basis point movement. We've seen that the market has remained liquid in terms of interbank liquidity. That has been positive all through the month of August. The CBN has also, carried out 2 back-to-back OMO auctions, mopping out 1.6 trillion, from the market just this week. that has still not dampened the liquidity in the market. We're still seeing interest for, treasury bills and bonds. And the adjustments that the CBN has also made regarding the SDF, which is a standing deposit facility where banks can place excess monies that they have with the CBN. We've also seen them make some adjustments to that policy. All of that has, shown that the CBN is sort of adopting an expansionary monetary approach. And all of that is, encouraging investors to quickly come in and take advantage of the yields that have been at record highs for a long time. In addition to the fact that inflation has started to print downwards, and then we're entering, proper harvest season, food inflation is expected to continue to trend downwards. The signs just look very positive in terms of interest rates, that the borrowing costs will continue to reduce. Investors will continue to, come in and invest and take advantage of the juicy yields as much as possible. The local dollar bond looks like it's going to be a very huge success. By and large, everything just looks to be buoyant in the month of August.
Okay, so Caleb, I think we share that optimism, particularly with the CBN's fourth quarter Treasury bills calendar being just recently released. But thank you so much for your time, and of course, we wish you a very positive close for intraday and for the rest of Thursday's trading session.
Thank you, Anita.
That was Caleb Alimi, Chief Dealer with Providence Bank, for the market numbers and the fixed income market. Now, look at the Dubai index as well as the Abu Dhabi index within the United Arab Emirates. Negative sentiments for the two indexes. Actually, we are about the four out of the four indexes that we have here, just one gainer, which is the Qatari Stock Exchange. We will be looking at that. The Dubai index down 0.24% at about 0.25%. Abu Dhabi, more than 0.5% in the red, 0.58% at 9,235.21 for the Abu Dhabi index. On the other side of the markets, for the Saudi Arabia, we call it the Tadawul, or they call it the Tadawul. That's the name of the index there. 12,075.61, down intraday at 0.34%, while the Qatari Stock Exchange was in the green, 0.07%. That's the lone gainer for that region. And from the Middle East, we move over to the United States, where we see the stock futures there being tepid. That's coming out of the losses that they had in mid-trading session. The Dow Jones Industrial Average futures, 0.51%, S&P futures 0.20%, while the Nasdaq futures 0.22%. And this is all tracking the numbers that were released from a tech giant, or the world's the biggest chip maker there, which you call NVIDIA, which posted a 122% revenue growth on the back of surging demand, but at the same time, it was a disappointment for traders there who are hoping for higher growth rates. So the market weren't too cheery about the news of that, the revenue growth. So, but that was it for the market at the close of well, this is just for the stock future before the market opens, the opening bell in the United States, which is 2:30 Nigerian time. And finally, for the Asian markets, we also see the impact of that NVIDIA's result hammering almost all the indexes across the Asian region, starting from the Nikkei 0.02% down, 38,362.53. The Kospi index, where we see the likes of Samsung, the likes of SK Hynix, they're actually they're the biggest supplier to NVIDIA, so they logged the biggest losses there among the Asian chip firms. So that loss was actually really impacted on the Kospi, South Korea's Kospi, which registered 1.02% decline. For the Hang Seng Index, that gained 0.53%. And for Shanghai, which is in China, we see just a bloody, what you call bloody, I wouldn't want to use bloody, but the color red is actually what you call bloody, 2,823.11 for the Shanghai Composite, and for the Australia ASX 200, 0.33% decline for the close of Thursday's trading session. So that's a wrap on the market for Thursday.
Yeah, we see NVIDIA moving markets one way or the other, mostly in the red zone, unfortunately, at this time. Thank you so much, Anita.
Pleasure.
We head to London now, where there's a support plan for UK households that are struggling with winter energy bills. I wonder if Juliana is one of those that will get this support. Juliana, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Inni. I doubt it very much. I don't think I fit into the category of the most vulnerable in the UK, but it's likely to increase over the next couple of months in terms of those who are vulnerable and who are struggling to heat their homes, because, of course, over the past couple of weeks, we've enjoyed some pretty decent weather in the UK, so most people haven't had to put their heating on. And anytime you do put your heating on or put the gas on, in this country, it costs an awful amount of money, particularly made even worse because of the raging war between Russia and Ukraine. So it hasn't been a topic of discussion over the past couple of weeks. And in fact, I think Sir Keir Starmer's been lucky during the campaign. He was able to shift that. But now that we are approaching winter, lots of groups in the UK who oversee vulnerable communities have urged the government to do more and to step in before it does get much colder. And that's why today the government have announced an expansion of some of the measures that were implemented under Rishi Sunak's administration, namely the warm house discount. Now, what this was for those who are not working or those who are very, very vulnerable or elderly, they received a £150 discount from their energy bills. This is going to be expanded, or should I say increased, to about £300, which may not seem a lot, but that is an awful lot of money for those who desperately need it. But the question is there going to be more, right? Because again, if we go back to Sir Keir Starmer's historic victory, it was the fact that, you know, he was going to trickle down lots of the benefits, economic benefits, down to everybody, not just those who are in London or in the southeast of the country. That was the plan. And then all of a sudden we heard from Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, saying that as soon as she entered the coffer, there was no money in the coffers. In fact, it was £22 billion short. And that's why I think on Monday or Tuesday it was this week that the Prime Minister said the budget, which we're expecting in the next few weeks, is going to be extremely painful. Now, this is going to be a very delicate balancing act for Sir Keir Starmer, because on the one hand, you've promised you're going to be looking after the vulnerable. What support are you going to be putting in place? Yes, they've announced that they're going to increase this discount to £300, but that's clearly not enough. And it's not just the poor and the vulnerable who are struggling in this country. Middle classes are also struggling to pay the bills. The cost of living crisis is still in effect, but they can't afford it because, of course, they've got to, you know, make up this £22 billion deficit. So Parliament is going to be back in full swing next week following their summer recess. And these are the kind of conversations that Sir Keir Starmer is going to have to project and face because, of course, you can't keep blaming the previous administration. We're now in a new administration. What support and help can you give? That's what time will tell.
Yeah, time will tell indeed. And I mean, it becomes more obvious that it's not easy to be at the leadership. So it's one thing to get into power. It's another to sustain power and make your promises come to be. But let's head to the markets now. I hope investors are in a better mood, though.
They are in a better mood today. It's been a flurry of announcement. In fact, there's one announcement that's starting to pick up waves in the UK, and that's the fact that smoking is apparently going to be banned in pub gardens and restaurants, which is a huge story in the UK. There's something about the UK and the nanny state which don't go together. So in the UK, people like to make their own choices. So if it's going to kill me, I don't care. That's my choice. That is kind of the liberal democracy that we live in. But we're seeing that the Labour government are taking initiatives put in place by Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, who basically put in place legislation which will mean in the next few years nobody in this country will be able to buy cigarettes. And it does appear that Sir Keir Starmer has gone even further by putting in a ban on smoking in pub gardens, which again is causing lots of controversy, particularly as pubs have really struggled over the past couple of years, because most people now, especially young people, they don't really go to pubs anymore. They go to bars and they don't want fish and chips. They want, avocado on toast and stuff like that. Consumer habits are vastly changing. That hasn't been reflected in the numbers at intraday, though. The all share is up 0.3 0.0%. The blue chip FTSE 100 is up by 0.33%. The FTSE 250, the domestic market, that's up by 0.28%. At intraday in the currencies market, the British pound is trading down against the US dollar by 0.03%, up against the euro, though, by 0.27%, and up to against the Japanese yen by a smidgen at 0.01% in A.
Thank you so much, Juliana, for all of that updates from the UK. So from the UK, we move to Europe. In Berlin, the airport is somewhat of a trauma for many Germans. And it took ages to build it, cost a lot, and now the airport is doing well, but it seems the airlines are not doing so well. Lars joins us now with the details. Lars, what's this about?
Thanks for having me, Ini. Well, indeed, the Berlin airport, with all its ridiculous past with the cost overruns and the political mess surrounding its construction, it is actually a nice airport, easy to navigate, usually pretty good service. Airlines, however, are not happy with doing business there because it's too expensive. So expensive, actually, that Ryanair is now cutting the number of its flights to and from Berlin by a full 20%. And that's a lot, especially considering the airline's status. Ryanair is an Irish budget airline and is the biggest airline servicing Berlin. No other airline has that many flights going out and coming in. But, well, there will be fewer flights in future, and some destinations have been cut out entirely, like Krakow in Poland, Kaunas and Riga in the Baltic states, and even Brussels, and that is the capital of the EU, if you will. Now, why does Ryanair cut its service? Because, as I said, it's too expensive to fly in and out of Berlin. For an average plane with 150 passengers, the airline has to pay 4,400 euros in fees and taxes. Now, to compare, it's 3,400 in Paris, it's 600 in Madrid, and it's a mere 244 euros in Dublin, Ryanair's home. And it's all because of very high air travel taxes in Germany. And it's not just a problem for Ryanair. EasyJet has also reduced its schedule last year, and other airlines have been complaining as well.
All right, so I hope this doesn't seep into the market and investor sentiment.
Well, just one name, NVIDIA. The chip maker whose semiconductors are specifically targeted to be used in AI applications had its quarterly report out late last night. And here's some numbers. Revenue is up by 122% and profit is up by 168%. That as server centers around the world are upgrading for AI. Both growth numbers here, revenue and bottom line, are an absolute record, and they're even better than the extremely high estimates that analysts had given out. But shares are down 7% after the report, and it's weighing heavily on the entire tech sector. And why, one might ask? Apparently, investors did find one item they didn't like, a small dent in profit margins, down to 76% from 79%. Sounds like not much, but given how NVIDIA has been talked up, the stocks are priced for absolute perfection. And by that measure, I guess it failed.
Yeah, and we see the redness in the market. Thank you so much, Lars. Now let's come back to Africa. Now we begin in Ethiopia, where that country said it has more than doubled electricity production from that controversial mega dam on the Blue Nile after 2 more turbines started operations. The multi-billion-dollar Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, long a source of tension. Remember that story with the downstream nation like Egypt and Sudan, is now generating 1,550 megawatts of electricity, and the 2 turbines generating 400 megawatts each have now started operations, adding to the already functional 2 turbines generating 375 megawatts each, totaling the output of 1,550. The dam's spillways were also releasing an extra 2,800 cubic meters of water to the downstream countries. Discuss commodities now, and our interest today is on palm oil. Yes, palm oil with the many derivatives that palm fruit has, not only for the household but also for industrial use. And of course, we have seen the price there, as many other commodities at this time, increase by about 50% in the last 2 months. Let's discuss this now with Tomiwa. Tomiwa Ajewole is an analyst with Financial Derivatives Company. Hi, Tomiwa. What information do you have for us? Do we see price tapering anytime soon?
Yeah, good afternoon, Ini. Thank you for having me. In the last 2 months, we've seen the price of palm oil skyrocket, about almost 50% in just a span of 2 months. And, when it comes to farm produce commodities, one key factor is the weather. And anybody that is well familiar with palm oil, we know that during the rainy season, the prices of palm oil typically skyrocket. The palm oil fruit does well typically with the dry and harmattan season, and then it's not that well during the rainy season. So peak harvest typically begins from April. It can extend to May, June, July, but starting from August, harvest begins to come below average. So what we're seeing typical for the price of palm oil skyrocketing is just a seasonality effect. There's lower supply, and while the demand is still high. And oil marketers and producers are well familiar with this. When prices are low, what they do is they buy in bulk, not to sell, but the odds they keep. And then now when prices are going up, they will see that they begin to release, so that way they increase their profit margins. So typically, the weather is a key factor for farm produce, but particularly palm oil. It doesn't respond well in rainy season, and that's why we're seeing this huge increase in the price of palm oil.
Okay, so this increase in the price of palm oil might not be good for consumers, but obviously it's good for the companies, the investors in those companies also.
Yes, exactly. Palm oil as a commodity, it has an inelastic demand, and what that means is that the demand is not that sensitive to price changes. So when price skyrockets, the demand still has to be there, because palm oil again is in Nigeria, well, globally, the consumption more of it is from the industrial side. The demand is more from the industrial side. So in Nigeria, we use palm oil making noodles. Palm oil is used, restaurants, a lot of them use palm oil for their consumption. Palm oil is used in the pharmaceutical sector. Palm oil is used for soap. Palm oil is used for ingredients. So, palm oil as a raw ingredient cuts across key sectors that produce the products that we do on a day-to-day basis. And, no matter how hard the economy is, you still have to eat, you still have to take care of yourself, you still have to get these commodities. So, the demand is always strong for it. That is why we see this inelastic demand, where producers and marketers are still earning in huge revenues, because consumers are typically price takers. But for the consumer, we just have to bear that loss, that weight, that burden.
Yeah, talking about loss for one being a profit for another. But thank you so much, Tomiwa Ajewole, analyst with Financial Derivatives Company.
Thank you.
Now let's head to the crypto space. Now, NVIDIA, you hear, is everywhere, moving market. I think it also has an impact, at least the AI side of cryptocurrency. So we'll see the impact, but we see the board is not as red as it was yesterday. We do have splashes of green today, unlike yesterday, but we see Bitcoin is lower today. It's 59,833.93, down 0.31%. I think we started this week at about 62,000. Now we've gone down to 59. Wow. Ethereum is back, recovered from yesterday, 2,545.31 after it's gained 0.75%. We see Torn and, this dropped, was it yesterday earlier, and then recovered. So we see it sustaining that recovery. Solana, Cardano, mixed colors here now. Let's look at the top stories in the crypto space at this time. Crypto.com has added PayPal as a payment method. We see expansion going on in this crypto space. So Crypto.com adds PayPal as payment method. I wonder what that would mean, but the story says that it's going to fund purchases. The US is only for the US based, not for Nigeria. That it will fund purchases of cryptocurrency, and it will soon be available in other countries, but it's only happening in the US. They're connecting their PayPal and Crypto.com wallets, so they can have transactions cut across. We'll see what this could mean for the people there. And then obviously the NVIDIA's earnings for the second quarter, it exceeded expectations but failed, as Lars did point out right there, leading to a decline in AI-related cryptocurrencies. That's the NVIDIA's earnings affect AI-related cryptocurrencies. I believe we have Success now to talk to us about this. Hi, Success. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah, so should we start with NVIDIA, or we should talk about the PayPal first, being connected to Crypto.com. What can this do to the markets and sentiment, even though this is just for the U.S. Customers?
Yeah, in respect to adding PayPal as a means of payment, in price action, I don't think that would be of much impact. But ideally, is a welcome development, seeing this traditional means of payments being accepted in crypto space. PayPal itself has been very supportive for crypto and the crypto industry. I think PayPal has their own stable coin, PayPal USD, and seeing them collaborating with Crypto.com to partner as a means of payments is a welcome development to the crypto industry. And I think as the US has adopted to this method and welcomed the traditional means of payments in cryptos, I hope to see other countries like Nigeria as well adopt the traditional means of payments in this crypto industry.
No, you see it very far away from Nigeria. Do you see it? I mean, Nigeria is also looking the way of cryptocurrency now, talking about regulation, giving licenses and all of that. Do you see this anywhere close to our horizon?
I wouldn't just speak about that. I'm not in Nigeria currently, so I don't know exactly what's going on with the Nigerian markets currently. So, well, I think the stake of Nigeria, I think that they made a statement about trying to regulate or licensing crypto startups, but there are no clear information about that yet.
All right, Success, thank you so much, and we wish you a safe trip back to Nigeria. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
All right, so NVIDIA's earnings, obviously, on those AI-related cryptocurrencies. I'm sure we'll see it spill over tomorrow, and we may have time to dig into that. But that's all on the program today. Thank you so much for being a part of Business Incorporated. We'll have a final episode tomorrow at 1 p.m. But before then, I'll see you at 10 a.m. 10 p.m. first for stock market report. Hopefully, the NGX will retain the green color of intraday, not like yesterday. And then I'll see you tomorrow. John McQuarrie, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.